In this video, I'll be covering my recent portfolio moves and reviewing performance in March. Starting off with portfolio changes, I have just 4 highlighted in yellow here. First off, I started a new small position in Unico Silver, ticker USL on the Australian Stock Exchange. I put about 1,000 USD in. They're a silver exploration and development company with a couple adjacent projects in Argentina. And as the projects advance, the story is comparable to Abra Silver, which has been a great success story the last couple years. Sprott Research argues a takeover target of $2 billion, but that would likely require continued development, permitting, and sustained increase in silver price over 100, all of which I think is probable. So a $2 billion valuation would put the stock at about $5 to $6 Australian dollars, which is over 800% upside. And to show the market has greatly valued Abra Silver, these are good stories for a major to take over and add to their production pipeline. And last note here, since we're talking about Abra Silver, I did own this stock, but I sold it way too early at about $6.50. It was one of the stocks that moved quickly early on, and when we started having this correction, to be blunt, I both didn't understand the full value of this company, so I was uneducated, shame on me, and I was also scared of giving back my gains. So this is a great example of knowledge providing conviction. If I had the knowledge, which I absolutely should have, I feel pretty silly for not taking a deeper look into them. Then I probably would have held the stock and I would have had significantly more gains on the table. If in this current correction we make an undercut low, then I would pick this stock back up. Next, I added another share to Microsoft. Not super exciting, I know, but they're poised for significant growth over the next 5+ years, so I like accumulating a small position as it continues correcting. The YouTube channel Dividendology covers Microsoft in detail, so check out their videos to learn more. Next, I made small adds to both ACHR Aviation and Tempest AI. For me, I keep the story simple here. They're both gamble bets that they'll establish themselves as significant industry players in their respective industries. Both I discovered through Cathie Wood's ARK Innovation ETF. And regardless of what you think about her and her ETF, I think it's a good idea to consider their stock picks. ACHR Aviation is trying to get into the eVTOL game, which is electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. The goal is short distance, intra-city taxi services and whatnot. And while there are other players in the game, I'm betting on whatever the reason is, Cathie is invested in ACHR and not the other companies. ACHR used to be in her top 10 to 11 holdings, but it has dropped to around 22 as of today. So I do like small accumulations of this. Tempest AI is a healthcare technology company developing AI-powered precision medicine, primarily in oncology, which focuses on cancer, but they're expanding into other areas as well. The strong posture of Tempest comes from the scale of their multimodal data alongside their integrated AI platform. They support multiple facets of healthcare versus focusing on specific niches. So it's more of an all-encompassing solution, or more of a one-stop shop, right, that creates a strong competitive advantage versus other companies that are a little bit more niche. And they do continue to make significant growth, and I believe they're targeting positive earnings over the next 1 to 3 years. But this is a company that Cathie has conviction into. Tempest is in her top 3 holdings alongside CRISPR Therapeutics, which I also own, and Tesla. Moving into March performance, as most of you watching probably know, there's been a meaningful pullback in the precious metal sector. So with my heavy weighting in precious metals, and also I did need to withdraw $15,000 in March for taxes, I'm down 13.6% in March, which flips me to about minus 2.7% year to date. As seen in my last update video, I did deploy some capital into Dakota Gold and Equinox Gold on this correction. In hindsight, I bought too large a position in Dakota Gold. Even if I started buying at 520, I should have layered in more, dollar cost averaged in more, as I've talked about many times before. So that's a mistake. And while I'm talking about mistakes, one other one that I wanted to call out was with Millennial Potash. I was too aggressive with positioning here. Of course, it's easy to say it was a mistake in hindsight. It could have just ripped higher as it had been. But in the end, the stock had a vertical move and a healthy 30 to 50% correction in microcaps like this would have made complete sense. And of course, it did do that. To refresh, I pulled the trigger on this company, doubling down my 2K position to 4K near the highs because I saw Nutrien breaking out here on Jan 13th. So this stock has ran, but Millennial Potash has not. So I think this is another learning lesson to not only be patient and accumulate over time, but also make sure I have the right sizing compared to the other positions in my portfolio. I only have 3K invested in Nutrien and 3K in Intrepid. So why do I have a 4K position in a smaller microcap stock? I want to keep the principle of my risk profile increasing only as my capital size decreases. So this is a riskier company inevitably because even though it's a great story and they have a great project, they don't make any money. And it's just a riskier play for a whole host of reasons. So simply, I should have had less than a 3K position in this and really probably closer to 1K or 1.5K. So that's another lesson. And another great example of me taking a smaller position is in Surge Battery Metals that I added in my last video too. I did a small position because this is a riskier stock. I sized it the same as LAC. Looking at gold for a second, I'm still eyeing April as a potential turning point, which obviously looks like a potential low now. It's possible the low on March 23rd was the low for the correction, but it may still make an undercut low. I do still have a shopping list and about 13% cash, so I will put a bit more money to work if we see the lows undercut. I'm still at a 47% weighting, which is obviously high, but as I've talked about before, I just have extremely strong conviction in gold and the precious metals, even if it does take longer than I think to play out. To zoom out for a second and perhaps be a bit philosophical, significant opportunities in markets don't happen that many times in one's lifetime. And however much risk you take is however much you can get ahead. Yeah, it does go the same way to the downside too, but that's why I've structured my risk profiles and portfolio the way it is to hopefully maximize upside but minimize risk and downside. So I'm trying my best to utilize this precious metals bull market to potentially shoot me over that 1 million mark and propel me into the next chapter of my life and investing career. So going back to my shopping list, if we did see that undercut low, I'd look to pick up more Equinox Gold, Rio 2, Abra Silver, and maybe a bit more Dakota Gold and Unico Silver. With the changes I've made the last couple months, I'm now at 73 holdings. I've been giving it a lot of thought to the adage of not overly diversifying and instead focusing on concentrating bets. But I'm also trying to balance that with the fact that this is my entire portfolio and net worth. I don't have any other accounts or assets. I show 99% of what I have here. So it feels too volatile and risky for me personally to concentrate too much with my entire capital base, but I do strive to move closer to that over time as I get more comfortable. And one example of a change I'm probably going to make is that I did have a list of copper companies that I was looking to invest in. And instead of doing that, I might just focus on BHP, Osisko Metals, and some of the other copper stocks I have, and then just add the Sprott Copper Miners ETF. I think that would make a lot more sense than me continuing to invest in individual companies. For those that haven't seen it, I'd recommend checking out my video on BHP. I'll link on the screen here. I think they're a great company for the next decade, and I'm investing heavily myself. I hope price corrects more so I can pick up more shares. I'm at about a 10K position so far, but I'd love to get it closer to 30K. That's all for this video. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.